everyone. So welcome back with the third panel discussion for the day, which is on role of data and cybersecurity in BFSI sector. The moderator of the panel is Mr. Prasanna Lohar, Head Innovation and Architecture, DCB Bank. A very warm welcome to Mr. Prasanna. We have Surya Narayan K, Chief Information Security Officer, Central Bank of India. We have with us Mr. R. Vijay, Chief Information Security Officer from Mahindra Finance. We have Mr. S.V. Sundar Krishnan, Chief Risk Officer, Reliance Nippon Life Insurance Company.
Hello.
Mr. Praveen Kulkarni, Country Manager, Cyber Resilience, Microfocus India. Most welcome, sir. Mr. Ved Prakash, Senior Business Development Leader, Banking India and SAC, Thalis. So I'm handing over this panel to Mr. Good afternoon, sir. So with this, I'm handing the panel to Mr. Prasanna, who will be taking this panel ahead. Mr. Prasanna, over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Am I audible to you?
Yes, am I audible?
Yeah. Yes, you are audible, sir.
Yeah, so thank you, Village Techno Media, for inviting us for this panel discussion. Okay, so I think it's been the last, I think, 5-6 years is a big buzz around. Rather big buzz, it is a reality around cyber security. So gone were those days. I used to see IT security was a prominent department in the corporates and banks and so on. And the way we are seeing this digital adoption everywhere, rather than on mobility, but also on the web, on e-com, and there are many more form factors are there as far as digital channels are concerned. And we'll see with the 5G and IoT will come into pictures, and we will see wearables could be one of the form factors for doing these transactions. And this way, I think we see importance of cyber security becomes more and more prominent. And coming back to data strategies or data, I think data, I think somebody has said that last 3-4 years, whatever data is generated is as good as what we have seen data in the last almost more than 90 years. So data is now gone multifold. The same transaction is being utilized for fraud risk or reconciliation or some kind of analytics or some kind of a big data relevant, some kind of data lake. So the transaction has gone multi-flowed and the data is increasing day by day. And as you see, many more stakeholders are coming in more picture as a transacting entities for a single transaction. Data is there everywhere. So ultimately, customer is a one who is a beneficiary of these transactions or data, or looking forward to how he can safeguard while he doing some transactions on a small channels. And customer is not bothered about what is meant by security or digital security and what is meant by data. So I think it becomes very prominent importance or duty of a banks or insurance companies with the help of regulators. How do you really make it so seamless or frictionless experience for a customers, providing we have a backend very good data practices or frameworks? I think last 5-6 years has work has really increased for everybody as far as the data security or cyber security is a concern. And in the last 12 months, I think we have seen different kind of challenges. While COVID has come into our life, and all of a sudden some government announces that it will be in work from home from tomorrow. So I think cyber experts has to really think for initial 60 seconds. What is that I will do, right? How can I really change my policies? How can I look at those bring your own devices, and people will be given laptops and many more accesses from home. And at the same time, it will be a tremendous business pressure to bring every operational or every manual work or manual service which we are offering at offline areas. So how we can bring it on digital, like digital first experience for KYC or day-to-day customer experiences. So what we have seen, customer behavior is changed all of a sudden. They are not bothered about some offline service, and they are looking at secure, frictionless, flawless services on mobile channels or any of the other channels. So I think we can open up with Sundar sir, like what's his view, how the things are changing, and how he's really taking care of within the organization, and followed by Surya Narayan sir, and then let's hear from Ved and our friend Prakash for how service providers are gonna help us to mitigate ever-changing security paradigm, ever-changing expectation from the customers. Yeah.
Yeah, I First of all, of course, thanks, Alex, and thanks, Prasanna. You can call me Sundar. Good afternoon to
Yeah, yeah,
everybody. So, there are growing challenges BFSI sector faces. As I'm from the BFSI sector, and also other sectors are facing, primarily on data security, cyber security. And this is due to also now added to that is the pandemic factor. That has also increased the dimension or the risk factor. Even before pandemic, we had problems. There were malwares and ransomware attacks, several of them. I was fortunate or unfortunate to be part of one as a consultant, and I could find that the the attackers were there in the network for probably months together, planning the attack and gathering intelligence, hopping from one network to another. So many, it's a big conglomerate, so there's so many networks, hopping from one network to another, and capturing the passwords of DBAs, capturing the passwords of administrators in the process. And then, of course, then they had files over there, and then finally they unleashed all that, put up a ransomware and asked for a ransom. Of course, the organization didn't pay the ransom, and then it gets tough. You have to really investigate. You have to do forensic investigation. You have to isolate the impacted servers, and then the DR and BCP has to come back. So it's all about now incident response, not prevention. You can't just prevent attacks, malwares. You can't prevent virus. You can't prevent data leakage. It's just how you respond, how quickly you do a RCA or a root cause analysis, how quickly you plug the process gaps, security gaps, tools gap, awareness gaps. This is where the complexity has reached today. And data is oil, and therefore data is the crown jewel. And everybody is going to grab that crown jewel uh, and try and see how they can use that, misuse that. And therefore, the challenge in operating in remote location, as I mentioned about pandemic, is that you have to facilitate corporate policies in the remote devices that are there. And that's the challenge. iPad, laptop, mobile, or various devices in remote locations. How do you push the corporate policies into those? When pandemic occurred, people took away desktops also. Oh. And where the desktops hardened before taking away, where the laptops hardened, where the devices, did you put in multi-factor authentication? Did you do a VPN access? These are the challenges. Did you add additional proxy layer and WAF? Did you strengthen the WAF? So all this would come, and additional controls, awareness controls that you shouldn't click email attachments from unknown users or unknown attachments, etc., 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 have increased the challenges manifold. And moreover, digitalization has been pushed. The pace of digitalization has been further accentuated or strengthened. Most of the BFSI companies had already unleashed digitalization about 4 or 5 years or 6 years back, but pandemic has pushed it up. And but for not this digitalization, we would have been very severely impacted by pandemic. But if you see the results of financial year 2021, many companies have bounced back. Many BFSI companies have bounced back profitably. And by March 31st, I think most of the companies are profitable. The last quarter and the second last quarter, they bounced back. And of course, in all these months, we have been using digitalization, remote location, learning to operate from homes. And I think we've cleverly adjusted ourselves, but with added security challenges and dimensions. Today, businesses are aware of that, and digitalization goes in part hand in hand with security rollouts, information security rollouts, and budgets are more forthcoming than before. So this is what I thought I will give the opening remarks. If I've missed something, please feel free to ask. I can add.
Yeah, so I'll come back to you, sir. Considering you are one of those pioneers into how do we really have a better framework, better data frameworks, and we'll come back to that. So Suryanarayan, sir, being PSU bank, right, and is a large bank, so and you being into that IT security area since so many years, and last 12 months, I think we have seen so many changes in security practices, security frameworks, and so on. So, considering your experience at a Central Bank of India, how customer expectation is changing and how cybersecurity experts are changing their framework, their policies to meet those ever-changing requirements. And I think RBI is becoming more and more prominent. Recently, we have seen in February 2018, they have released IT security guidelines, controls for internet banking, mobile banking, or ATM reconciliation, so on. So like this, you will see lot many such guidelines. So how do we mitigate this ever-changing behavior around IT security? So, or are we relying on more resources or more systems or some other practices? Yeah, over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Prasannaji. Yeah, very sorry for late joining also because I was another meeting. During this pandemic, actually, the customers are moving towards more and more digital transactions. Okay, but the thing is only the volume has increased, and as you rightly said, the in banking the regulator control is more than enough actually, because if you simply comply with the guidelines also, you can say that you are secured in a better way, because that type of guidelines we are receiving from the regulator. And in the pandemic, we have started this work from home facility also for some of the critical staff, and including vendor side staff. So we have given these hardened laptops to them with proper authentication, including biometric authentication and all. So that way we are managing the show. In addition to that, we have some automated center other than this data center involved, uh, where the critical staff can, including a vendor staff, can stay, and because there's no need to go out and all. So that way we are managing the show. And as you know, as far as the banking is concerned, the work from home concept is not much in scope, because the branches and all, they have to come to office to service the customers. But especially in administrative office like data center, where this IT administration and all involved, that we are managing the show with some of the staff on premise, and as well as some of the staff on work from home and alternate location and all. The customer experience, of course, it is a now there are so many frauds are in the way like that, because so many phishing mails and all during the COVID pandemic. So we are giving some awareness mails and SMS to the customers on a regular basis, so that they will not be fall prey to any of these attackers. Otherwise, we are able to attain the customers' expectations without any hiccups. And even though the volumes are increased, we are our hardware or application sizing is also considered that even if some spike in volume is there, we can manage the show.
Yeah. So I think, Surya sir, thank you very much. I was on mute. Sorry for that. Surya sir, any experience have you faced in the last 12 months, considering it was something different kind of a threat or different kind of a incident? Without giving details, do you really see that last 12 months has really changed the life of CISOs in the bank?
Sorry, personally, you are asking me or?
Yeah, so I was asking you, do you really see the
But
changes
I didn't get my
in the last?
I the speaker was of. Can you repeat? I didn't
So I
hear
was,
anything from you.
yeah. So I was looking at your experience, say the CISO's life before 2019, and now being
Okay.
into 2020 and 21. Do you really see lot many things are changed in your life, considering managing cybersecurity in the bank? So if you can give some
Yeah,
pointers, which are the things are being changed in the last 1-2 years. So then maybe we'll go back to the our friends and we'll ask how do we really get those service providers and mitigate those challenges.
yeah, sure. See, there are so many like attack surface are coming. We are getting so many news and so many advisory from regulator and all. So our workload or our attention has been changed. So even to report to the like top management also what is happening in and around us. So the overall our approach has been changed, and we should be like very careful at any moment because there are so many attacks, even data leakage, everything is a ransomware attack, everything is happening. So we should be very very careful. That way, our life has changed, and the main thing is this online meetings and all meetings. The concept of meetings, conducting meetings has been changed. In bank also, most of the meetings are conducting online. So I think it will continue forever now. So that way, and customers also more and more towards the digital transactions. So I think even after the pandemic, this type of like culture will continue. I think. And it is a good signal also. It is the one plus point of this pandemic. We can say.
Yeah, so definitely, I think Praveen, you've been hearing our both the friends like Sundar sir and Suryanarayan, and
Yeah.
Micro Focus is one of those prominent company in cyber resilience, right? So,
Yes.
what is that you want to guide bankers or our listeners? What is meant by cyber resilience? Some kind of some maturity kind of a practices Micro Focus does have, and how do you really see this ever-changing cybersecurity will evolve? So yesterday could be just like endpoint monitoring, or could be some application monitoring on a monthly basis. So how it is changing on a continuously basis, and how Micro Focus looks at supporting banks or insurance company in this area? Yeah.
Okay. I'll approach this. I'll give you an overall approach, right? I did hear comments about work from home, eKYC, mobility, right? I was attending a few of the earlier sessions, and where esteemed panelists were talking about onboarding new customers, even loan dispersals are now happening online, right? So this is all the way in which banks are increasing their digital footprint. Now that's the positive side of it, right? The negative side of it is the more digital you get, your attack surface increases, right? Now, Sundar was talking about the fact that there is a difference between breach and attack from a time frame perspective, right? A breach may happen today, but the attack actually happens much, much before. The thumb rule actually is quite astonishing. It's 233 days. That means if you see a breach today, pretty much close to a year before is when the person would have infiltrated into your company. He would have done all his reconnaissance, he would have done his enumeration, he would have exploited your system, and he's waiting actually for the right moment for him to look at what is it that he wants to do within the organization.
The case I was involved was about 12 months, 11 months. 11 months
Okay,
he was inside.
7 months, right? Yeah. So they're not in a hurry. They'll map your entire network, your entire organization, and then figure out exactly what is it that they want to do. They want to exfiltrate, they want to modify, they want to delete, or they want to encrypt your data, right? So they work in a very methodical fashion. Right? Now, what we say is this, right? The whole threat landscape has been changing over time, and the tools that companies use have also been changing, right? So actually now another interesting fact that there are companies, there are organized, wrong word to say a company, but there are what we call advanced persistent groups. There are groups which specialize in attacking only BFSI customers like FinCEN, Lazarus, Cobalt Group. They specialize in this, right? So going by the example that Sundar sir talked about was that we need to move from this mindset of cyber security to cyber resilience. I'll give you a view of what that is, right? In cyber security, you are going with the mindset that as of today, you are secure. There is no attacker, there is no attack. You then put checks, controls in place to ensure that you are protecting your systems, and in the event of an attack happening, how quickly can you recover? But assuming that the attacker is already sitting in your system, or whatever period, it could be 2 months, 8 months, 11 months, right? You can't go with that cybersecurity approach. You'll have to go with what the industry is now calling a cyber resiliency approach. In a cyber resilient approach, you're assuming that the attacker is in the system and is only waiting for him to do his respective action, right? So you need to move into a mindset where you're anticipating that the attack is going to happen anytime, and you need to withstand that attack. Your key business process, your technical processes should still be able to run, maybe in a slightly watered down state, but they still need to withstand that attack and run. And as soon as the attack happens, you should be able to come back to 100%, right? You should be able to learn from those processes or attacks that have happened, and then quickly build that into the system, right? Now, the positive thing, if you look at banks, right, is that they've been at the forefront of technology adoption, right? Especially from a cybersecurity perspective. And most banks, if you see now, already have a full-fledged network security in place. They have data security in place, endpoint security in place, and they also have a security operations center in place, right, where they're actively hunting threats, both known and unknown, right? And what banks have started doing is that they're looking at all your internet-facing, customer-facing application, and they've started securing the code of their applications, because most cases the attack happens on the applications, right? And what we are seeing is that institutions have now started putting a stringent, what we call a vulnerability analysis and penetration testing in place, right? With this, when you do this periodically, and it's done by a third party, you're able to evaluate your security posture. What we're also seeing is that because the scale of operation of banks are huge, they've now started investing in security data lake and also analytics, right? What is a turning point, as the comments which I made earlier, is that cybersecurity is no longer an option, right? When you look at banks in India, it's mandated by the RBI. And we've seen over the last 2 to 3 years, it has seriously accelerated adoption of cybersecurity. What we would also say is that if all the institutions can increase what we call the telemetry on attack patterns and share this with the larger community, this will actually help time attacks. But again, security, you can never say that you're fully secure, right? Security is like a slider and it changes over time. And unfortunately, the slider will only move down. So once one needs to quickly and frequently reevaluate risks and strengthen their security posture.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I think very good views. In last 2-3 minutes, you explained the importance of cyber resilience and how banks should really look at differently to adopt better practice for the cyber security. So coming back to Praveen, I think it's is it are there any banks adopting the cyber resilience, and how's the adoption going on as of now?
So as I said, right, because the banks are number one on the target list, they have been in the forefront of adoption, right?
Yeah.
So we see that quite a few banks, whilst different banks are in different level of maturity, quite a few banks have a quite sophisticated cyber resiliency in place. They're able to, so a lot of banks, as I said, now are investing in a security data lake and security analytics. So when you do security analytics, you are pretty much looking at not only known threats, but also unknown threats. So you're pretty much trying to figure out when that attack is happening in real time, you're able to pinpoint that and look at remediation measures. So if you look at Indian banks, they're quite mature when it comes to cybersecurity and cyber.
So coming, taking from your views, say example, one bank is having its own best practices, governance structure, and equipped with SOC, network relevant web application firewalls, and so many things, right? Continuously, as a part of RBI's mandate, they keep on doing various audits throughout the year, and as well as for every application, it's a IT security comes into picture, gives a sign off, and only if he's given a sign off, then the rest of the sign offs are valid, and then only things get into production, say mobile banking, internet, or any of those banking applications. So that is relevant to bank, right? But tomorrow's applications or some of our existing applications like Bharat Bill Payment or UPI or eNACH or many more other initiatives coming from NPCI, IDRBT or Revit. So that involves a complete structure around multi-bank kind of a ecosystem, right? A transaction happen at one bank's UPI, right? Has to be the amount will be remitted to another bank's account, and in between you will have a multifold ecosystems and multiple servers and many more things are there. And when it comes to security of a whole ecosystem, so I'll move towards Ved. I think Ved, you have seen how UPI was being designed, and still there are a lot of frauds are happening in UPI, right? We see, I think, lot means most number of frauds happens around that area only. So although awareness is required, but coming back in the security angle, how Thales is looking at safeguarding not only UPI but overall this multi-bank or cloud kind of a ecosystem. So yeah, Ved, over to you.
Hey, thanks, Prasanna, and a really very significant question and relevant in today's time. What I would like to say is that just to add on what Praveen mentioned or called out, that definitely the approach is moving to have a cyber resilience kind of an approach. There is more specific focus within cyber resilience on addressing what matters most or what is very critical to you, which is your data. And organizations are significantly looking at adopting a data security solution approach. And to have this, you need to do a thorough understanding of your data risk as well as the business needs. So very first step that organizations are currently undertaking is to conduct a data risk assessment. So earlier there used to be cyber risk assessment, which will still be there and will continue on. But now the very important activity which has come is data risk assessment, which basically helps you to identify where your sensitive data is, discover it, then classify it. And basis of the classification, you will get to know whether the data is sensitive or the data is confidential or the data can be public. And after that, you can decide what would be the appropriate data risk remediation controls, like encryption or some data which might need to do tokenization or masking or maybe just left as that. So a very significant thought process has come in terms of adopting a consistent data protection strategy, which addresses the broad range of security objectives, enabling to secure your data across all your environments, which include your virtual, physical, cloud, and big data, and then extending the support across all the server platforms like Windows, Linux, or Unix. And most important is that you need to have a centralized control to keep your distributed data safe. So these are some of the very, very important thrust areas that organizations are looking at. Apart from this, I can see that there is a significant thoughts come around having a centralized policies, security policies built with encryption key management policy being defined, which helps organization to address activities related to data encryption, which is considered as the last line of defense or technology control that acts directly on the data. So how are you addressing the threats that basically arises from protecting the data at rest or in motion? These are some of the very relevant technology controls that organizations are looking at. And then you are moving your workload in cloud. You will need to look at the controls which helps you to gain the security of the data residing in the cloud. And here you have the controls like bring your own encryption, where you take your own encryption technique rather than using the technique given by cloud service provider and have your own protection measures. Or the more important that I've seen by a lot of organizations adopting is bring your own keys, where even all your leading cloud service provider offers you data at rest encryption and key management, but the data protection mandates from the regulatory guide providers requires that these keys has to be stored and managed by the customers or the users. And as such, the cloud service providers fulfill this requirement by enabling a customer key control functionality, which allows customers to gain the control of the keys that they create for securing the data residing in the cloud. And this approach is called bring your own key. So these are some of the very relevant interventions that organizations are adopting in today's scenario.
That's a great view. I think with just coming back I think most of the things are now, or maybe in the future, we will move into the cloud. So while banks are not on the cloud flesh, they are taking some hybrid kind of approach. So cloud maybe I think 10 plus year story, but still banks core applications are not on the cloud. So what's your view on that? And how do Thales sees looks at see say example video KYC or some of those auxiliary services given by fintech, they are already on a cloud first journey. Okay, so wherein they and these and I think regulator has also given a very good cloud based frameworks and guidelines. That's how banks also say okay to that. But coming back, more and more cloud adoption will happen. So that's how I think our one of our friends has said more and more systems will come into picture, more and more digital adoption. I think more and more prevention techniques are required. So from a Thales perspective, what is that a recommendation from you specifically for a cloud journey, and how we should be as a bank, we should be ready for that journey? So are there any recommendations while selecting any cloud service provider? So maybe you can throw some light on that, so that the delegates and other viewers can be benefited out of this. Yeah.
Sure, Prasanna. So we're working with large banks and enterprises across India. There is a significant movement in terms of cloud adoption happening across these banks. Definitely, core applications would not be there, but all these new applications which are being considered either which offered as SaaS or PaaS are moving on cloud, as well as some of the banks which are considering to move their data lake itself on the cloud. So there is a significant cloud journey that has started within the organizations. And where Thales comes in is that it is helping you to get the control of your data residing in the cloud. Now, when I talk about data, it is all sensitive PI data that needs to be protected. Yes. And it is here where if you see cloud service providers, they also have a native protection mechanisms. They offer encryption and the key management. But the issue is that you don't own those encryption keys of the data that is residing there. And the owner of the keys is the cloud provider. So in theory, cloud service provider can look into your encrypted data, which is not good and none of the customers would want. So you are not in control of the encryption keys altogether there. And that is where the clear guidelines have been framed in terms of having a approach which helps you to gain this control of the encryption keys or the data protection mechanism that is being taking place in the cloud. And Thales helps you to provide these technology interventions in terms of meeting both bring your own key approach or bring your own encryption approach, along with the centralized key management approach, which helps you to create these encryption keys from your requirements for on-premise and export it to the cloud, so that one single solution addresses the risk associated both for on-premise as well as for on-cloud. So you don't need to go to multiple point technologies or single use case technologies to address the specific areas. There is a platform-based approach that caters to multiple use cases and is scalable, and you can increase the components within the security landscape as your business requirement changes. So those are the new interventions that Thales is helping the organizations to provide, and this is helping them to meet the new challenges related to the data threats and data security.
Yeah, that's a really good view from Thales perspective. Now coming back, I think there is a lot of emerging tech adoption which is happening, which was not there before 2015. I think 80% banks are already practicing or already into production for artificial intelligence, machine learning kind of initiatives. And few of the banks are working on these Alexas or conversational banking or some kind of IoT initiatives already. And I think blockchain, I think heavily being discussed in last 4 or 5 years. And people say that if we adopt a blockchain, I think that will give additional layer of security on current networks. This is what, although blockchain is at a nascent, but the concept is really interesting, and banks, service providers are also adopting blockchain in their areas, like company like Infosys, TCS, Accenture, and many more. They have a separate units on these emerging technologies. So I think Sundar, I think many things are happening around you, being a beneficiary or being a insurance sector or BFSI sector. And as a beneficiary of these technologies, and there are a lot of tools around you, Ved and Praveen has really guided us how we should really adopt various best practices. From a regulator perspective, although we have all of this, what are the basics frameworks, or is there any work happening around data or around security, where maybe you can throw on the lights around that, so that automatically it inherits in something new thing. And I think our service provider also look at how these new things or new regulations can be practiced and adopted.
Yeah, I'm part of the regulatory outreach. I'm part of the advisory committee to IRDAI for cybersecurity. So we are looking at securing remote locations, especially coming out with a separate framework for remote locations and audit of that also. Cloud, of course, is already covered. There is a cybersecurity framework which is already there, and then there is also a digital framework which is separately registered, separately audited. And then investments, the main money in an insurance company's investments, the savings of the policyholders, that has a separate security, separate audit done. But what we are now looking at is holistically integrating all that into one and mapping it to an international framework. That's what is happening at the regulator side. So regulator is aware of all these initiatives. It's not that they're also looking at this localization rules. How do we ensure that servers are inside India whenever important data, customer data is there, or data related to surveillance, data related to governance, data related to policing needs to be retrieved quickly, then the servers need to be in India. And therefore, they're looking at that also, localization rules. And there is a lot of work happening as we speak on upgrading the checklist, upgrading the audit, upgrading the governance, upgrading the surveillance, etc. And so regulator also wants to be in the digitalization bandwagon. They're not left behind, and they're aware of the reality of life. And especially during pandemic, because everybody is now moving to remote locations. For instance, I'll give you an example. Investments section of insurance sector. There you have to record, like banking, you have to record all the calls that they make. And also you have to ensure insider trading doesn't happen. And therefore, there is this audit or surveillance that needs to happen on the investment functionary. They need to sign up declarations. They need to ensure that nobody's around the room. In board meetings that we do, they have to actually say that nobody's around me. But that's not enough. You have to take pictures time and again to check 5-6 pictures per day just to see that people are not around. So that's also important. So these are the new things that are coming up, surveillance mechanisms to look at things like that. And regulator is working on all this. So we have what we have done is, instead of using a centralized recording system, we use decentralized recording system. We have put call center recording system on the investors, innovative approach, and put this declaration, then also take some pictures during the day to ensure that, and of course we do voice recording. So every call is recorded, and sample surveillance is done of all the calls. And also all the trades that they do, their statements are all checked thoroughly by systems these days. So by the compliance functioner. So there are sophisticated ways to handle the challenges, and they're all there out there. And so we need to be aware of it, constantly be in touch with things. Users need to be made aware, users need to be warned, users need to be educated, because business functionary will demand many things. I had a very stormy meeting yesterday. Everybody wants digitalization, but then they don't stick to the framework given by regulator. They want something new. I said that there is an online framework available. Adopt that. No, I don't want to do an online framework. That is too much of audit, too much of governance. So we want a hybrid. Okay, you want hybrid, so take hybrid. But then you have to stick to the basic rules of hybrid, which means capture customer signature somewhere, because I have my customers are 30-year-old customers, 30-year policy. That means after 30 years, I have to check back what the signatures are there. I cannot go and catch the person who's taken the signature. And therefore, the signatures have to be recorded, stored well, encrypted. And therefore, encryption, any encrypted data has to be banned. That is the biggest challenge of digitalization. So you can't have unencrypted data at whatever, data address, data at motion, data at process. You have to encrypt it. And therefore, How do you handle things like that is the key. For instance, you spoke about using a centralized key and not proprietary key of the service provider, because proprietary keys of service providers are not tested by the security or risk function. In any technology you deploy, it has to be tested, and there has to be a white paper on that. A white paper will not be available on a proprietary encryption key, and that's the logic. And therefore, you need to have white papers around to go through it. Of course, you can't rely on manufacturers' white paper. You have to have your own white paper. You have to do your own research on security. How do you and come up with papers, come up with standards, come up with a framework, then adopt. But the speed, the time given to you, the gun put on your forehead is very, very stronger. And therefore, there is a lot of and there is a lot of tightrope walking that you need to do. And therefore, it's been more hard work for securities professionals last 2-3 years, and catching up. And it also means a lot more budget. My budgets, as I see in 1920, 2021, it goes up northwards. So, and then of course they say income is same, revenue is same, how your budget is going up. But I can't stick to that because challenges are much more. I have to say compliance. So this is the key, and that's what regulators also trying to catch up.
Yeah, I think certainly agree with you. Coming back to budgets, and I think in every board meeting, so there is a no to rather there is always a yes to any of those budgets presented by the IT security, because banks are living in a like glass houses, right? Banks, or you may say insurance companies, and we need to really protect it 24/7. I think if you ask Suryanarayan sir also, as a CISO, his job has become difficult in the last 1 year or so. That's what I can also say, considering my experience at DCB. Business owners always look at go live, immediate go live, right? They may not really see yesterday there was some security guideline came, and they will see why these all of a sudden security guideline you are introducing in our business requirement document. So I think it's very important for all the stakeholders in the bank to understand ever-changing security paradigm, guidelines which are coming from regulators, new practices coming from service providers like Micro Focus or Thales, and keep always on the toes and really implement those things, and continuous focus or continuous monitoring of these systems are really required. So Suryanarayan sir, are there any similar kind of experiences you are seeing, some kind of incidents in the last 10-12 months, if you want to really highlight some of them and some recommendations for other banks? Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Yes, actually, these business departments, as always, CISO and other departments, there will be some conflict. But the thing is, our duty as CISO is to just to explain the importance of that requirement, whatever we are proposing. And of course, if it is a regulatory requirement, then my experience is nobody will object to that one. But if it is only a CISO requirement, then our duty is to convince them. Okay, if it's a regulatory requirements, they will be equally affected person like us. So they will be agreeing for that, and we have to support them for this. Why it is important and why it will not affect. It should not affect their business, because finally banking is for the business, not for security. Security is only enable the business to be secure. So the first priority is always will be business only. So the thing is, customer is taking that everything, whatever their funds in the bank, it is secure. That is their birthright actually. So we have to convey the business department that okay, this security is for the good run of the all banks applications, because the thing is, security is not it cannot be a profit motive approach, because if security is not there, what will be the loss? That is opportunity. That we have to analyze the situation. And as far as this budget is concerned, my experience will be security cannot be treated as a budget-based approach, because security should be a need-based approach. Because we cannot say that we don't have budget, so we don't implement this some important security aspects. That is nowhere accepted for regulator. So security is always on need based. If it is required, budget should not be a constraint for us. So that is my view on this point.
Yeah, I think way back in 2000, 2002, when I used to look at any of the bank, right? So bank face meet, right? It was always a branch, right? branch was really forefront of every bank. And looking at that whole structure, people used to say that banking job is one of the best job. Go there in the morning, come out of the evening at 6 o'clock, and that's how is the structure. And if you look at last 7-8 years, it has really changed. Moreover, within a bank, CISOs are always on the toes, 24 hours, and they need to see what's really going on. Are there any threats coming up? I think the shifts are also changed in the within a bank, right? So we have some of the shifts in the night also to see monitoring of the SOC. Or is there something going wrong, or give those highlights immediate. And even RBI has come up with a very good guidelines that if any incident happens, it has to be reported within 4 hours, or and there are many more guidelines are coming up. So there are a lot of guidelines, as Sundar sir has said, and there are a lot of challenges which Surya Narayan said. So looking at that way and considering last 10-12 months, I think Thales must be heavily pumped up with a lot many requirements, right? So what is that recommendation you want to give up to the banker, so that it's like a takeaway from your pitch? So they should be ready, like these recommendations should be followed, whether it is a cloud first journey or a data center kind of a journey. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Prasanna. Maybe I will take it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you rightly said, and I totally agree with the Surya Narayan sir, that budget and investments of lately have also been started measured at what is the value at risk, rather than earlier where we used to consider a lot of threat-based kind of scenarios. We are now seeing that organizations are looking to see that what is the value at risk to which we need to invest, and that has become a significant changer in terms of getting the budget sanctioned for any of the key projects in the data security related engagements that we have been working with the customer. Now, the key takeaways that you rightly asked, I would say that, see, with all these incidents happening in last 5-7 years, you must have observed that data breaches will continue to happen. They will continue to rise. Now, they can arise maybe because as a result of cyber attack from outside, through gaining your unauthorized access to computer systems or network, or through the insider threat and privilege abuse.
Yes.
So what we advise currently as a best practice to look into adoption is that, first of all, have a data encryption mechanism in place where you encrypt the PII data or the sensitive data like Aadhaar, PAN, driving license, or passport details, anything which are really sensitive in nature. And then you need to have your strategy of as a data-centric approach, where you start doing this focus in terms of what happens if the attacker is able to pass from the perimeter, how the data still remains locked down. That is we call it inside out strategy, which needs to look at. And then a major intervention that I have seen organizations doing is file-level encryption. This is a kind of a solution that addresses 90% of the needs alone for protecting both structured and unstructured data. And a very important point out here is that when you're doing anything such mechanisms like encryption, if you're not managing these encryption keys, the whole purpose becomes futile. So you need to have a separate a key management mechanism or system in place where you're able to manage these encryption keys, and you do all this process automatically. So they right from the time this any new data comes in your IT system, there is no much of a manual process that gets into. Automatically, the data is identified, classified, it is being flagged as sensitive, and you can then take a call to see that this is sensitive. I can do from the same console, I can go for doing the remediation measures like encryption or tokenization or masking as relevant. And then you can define the rule-based encryption access controls and manage the complete life cycle of encryption keys across the organization. So Thales brings a platform which addresses end-to-end concerns related to data right from the time it is created to move through a journey of in various process till the time it gets deleted. So we provide that platform which organizations have recently implemented, and this helps you to gain the controls across the data lifecycle. So this is what from my side would be a recommendation for the organizations to look at.
So great. I think with so nicely you have explained what are those key recommendations for banks. Anybody will hear or listen this whole conversation will have a lot of insights the way you or others has really explained. Praveen, I think you really mentioned very nicely, like a lot of digital initiatives are happening, will keep on happening, and the cyber security resilience practices should be adopted. Cloud first is a agenda for fintech companies, and the fintechs are collaborating heavily with the banks, right? And not only fintech, but I think tomorrow's IoTs will interact or will ride on the API infrastructure which is provided by the banks. So looking at last 10-12 months and how the things are being changing, so are there any success stories or recommendation from Micro Focus perspective to the bankers or insurers wherein we can really ride on those key recommendations? Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to answer this, but I also would want to mention what Suryanarayan sir said, right? Banks are there to do business, they're not supposed to be in the security business. Very true. If you look at any business, their primary goal is to run their business and not really look at security. But unfortunately, in the way we are today, if you don't secure, you can't do business, right? All business, whether it is whether you work on a personal level or at an enterprise level, it's all based on trust. And as we stand today, you need to really, it's that trust that you need to secure. And one of the enablers for that is technology, right? There was also a second point about budget, which when it actually comes to compliance and security, it has to be need based, right? And you'd asked this question before. We are seeing an increased investment, especially since the last, I would say, 1 year. We've seen there are analyst reports, and we've seen that the number of threats and attacks in India have actually gone up close to 300%. Right? So the investments in cybersecurity and cyber resilience have gone up. But it has to be judicious, right? Because the cost of control cannot exceed the liability, right? So we need to be judicious when we put controls in place. Right? Now, a couple of things that from Micro Focus perspective that we talk about, and this expands whether your setup is on-prem or it is on cloud. There are a few things which are absolutely important for any enterprise to put in place. You need to protect your identities, your applications, and data. The reason I say this is because the attack invariably always happens on the identities. Most of the attacks are because of compromised credentials. Yeah. It's absolutely critical that you protect your identities. The attack will always happen on the application. So you must secure your application. And the attack is always on the data because that's what they want. So you need to protect these three, right? So when you look at identities, if you look at banks, right, it's always spread out. The number of users, devices, identities, entities that you have are multiple, and you can't have distributed systems. You need to have one single source of truth where all identities are managed, and you need to have a clear-cut access management in place, right? It can be when your scope and your complexity increases, you need to adopt things like role-based access managers. Right? You need to have a single sign-on. You need to have multi-factor authentications. Now, there are new technologies like risk-based type of authentication. If the system is able to actually start putting a risk score on the kind of access that a particular user is doing, and if you see issues there, then you ask him for the next level of authentication, right? It did not necessarily be two-factor. It can be a next level authentication also. And very critical when users are those privileged users. You cannot assume that there is not a bad actor in the privileged users. You need to have a privileged access manager for all your privileged users, right? That's from an identity perspective. From an application perspective, I think the biggest issue is with applications, because whenever you talk about digital transformation, it's all about new applications, right? And what has now happened is that the whole adoption of DevOps. So the iterations that happen on your applications have gone up exponentially. And because there is a need for you to, really accelerate your go-to-market, a lot of developers are now using open source, and all of these are that's where your vulnerabilities come in. So it's absolutely important that you build an application security at the design and build stage and not post-factor. So whether you're doing a static scan on your code or you're doing a dynamic scan on your applications or an open source scan, it's very important that you do it at the time you're building. And the third is what we talked about, absolutely data. At the end of the day, It's a data which is the heart of the organization. So you need to secure your data. Now, all of these are protective measures. And what you need to have is a layer on top of this, which is looking at both known and unknown threats, like what most banks have in place, which is a next-gen SOC, right? Which is a log management system for compliance. You have a correlation engine, which is running on your SIM. And you talked about machine learning and AI, right? So a lot of companies are now looking at what we call Yuga-based systems, which are all based on machine learning, where you're able to, the machine itself is able to baseline what is normal, and anything that's abnormal, the machine actually gives up to an analyst saying, this is what you need to look for, right? And it's able to reduce the number of false positives and give only a defined set of alerts to your SOC analyst, right? So that's what you need to look for, and this is the kind of solutions that Micro Focus brings to banks and the larger audience to help them make their businesses cyber resilient.
Great. I think Praveen, so nicely you explained about the importance of IDAM kind of systems and adaptive authentications. It's not only application level security, but how consumer also get benefited out of these adaptive authentications. So great news. I think if I combine Ved's view and your view, I think these kind of recommendations and subsystems has to be really implemented in every bank. So I'm not sure whether Mr. Vijay is there. Maybe he has just joined. So coming back, I think we have some time left. So Sundar sir and Suryanarayan sir. So last 1 minute, right? If you can, last 2 or 3 sentences from your side. What is that you are looking at 2025 and how insurance companies, banks should really looking at that? So pandemic is a one challenge we had since last 1 year or so. Looking at the normal scenario and the changes are happening in the ecosystem, changes are happening with the customer expectations, customers moving away from branches or offline kind of transaction to the more and more digital. Organizations are looking at everything on digital. Data is becoming more important. Data strategies, building big data or similar kind of initiatives is now becoming a priority for organizations, and it is adding more importance, more opportunity or a more responsibility to the security departments within every organization. So what are the key takeaways from this session if you want to give it to the delegates?
So if I have to do Vision 2026, so what security professionals would have to do is they have to be ready and extremely adaptive, flexible, and fast. Solutions have to be very fast. People, process, technology, all the three have to be deployed quite fast to catch the digitalization that's unfolding. Pandemic has accelerated that. Digitalization was already there in banking and insurance, at least 5 years before the pandemic, 4 or 5, but pandemic has really accelerated it. And so it will transform all BFSI space. Things would change dramatically by 2025 to 6. So you need to be adaptive, you need to be flexible, you need to be scale up, scale down, you need to be cost sensitive and give solutions that are quite smart and innovative. This is the one-line statement.
Yeah, so Suryanarayan sir, over to you. What's your one-liner statement for the community?
Yes. Actually, banking is more or less matured in terms of cyber security. But since it is a continuous threat in the overall ecosystem, there is no end for this maturity. So we have to be careful each and every moment, and whether it is next 5 years or 10 years, there will be always threat to the security of the systems, because especially banking is concerned, every money. Earlier, Sundarji was telling that data is oil. Okay, but I want to change that data is money in the bank, because every data of customer can be converted to money for hackers. So we have to protect the data through perimeter, through application, through storage, encryption. Everywhere we have to protect the data. Whatever security measures we are taking, whether it is network level, application level, the final we are protecting is the data only. So there will be challenges anytime, and in future also, because the hackers are not stopping their work. So we also should be very careful with challenges, and there will be splits also. That is my right.
Yeah. So, Ved, over to you, please.
Yeah, so I would definitely agree to most of the views, and I second the thought process from Praveen, Suryanarayan sir, and Sudarshan that definitely there is a data-centric approach that would come in across any of the relevant initiatives related to data security or business processes you take. And the focus would be definitely to ensure that you have adequate control mechanisms to address data in motion, both data residing on-premise as well as data moving in cloud. So most also presently, like I'm seeing that when you are making a data of moving from on-premise to cloud, how do you secure the link in between? And how do you secure the data in motion concept? Or primarily, if the customers who are using to feed the details from their handset, mobile, how do you ensure that all those sensitive data is being protected in the end-to-end process that is happening with respect to that? So how do we bring those respective controls, and how do you utilize the in terms of meeting with the regulatory compliances would definitely be the key area to intervene and discuss with the organizations.
Great. So, yeah, Praveen, over to you. Finally, you want to give a line of recommendation based upon whatever we are discussing today.
Great. There's a couple of points. One is if I was to dial back to the beginning of 2020, right? When the whole pandemic began to roll out, everybody had a BCP plan, but none of those BCP plans could be put in place because it never looked at the people element, right? You always looked at infra element. You were never prepared that 100% of your workforce would be working from home, right? So that was, and companies really stepped up that in 30 to 45 days, they were able to get their entire workforce to work remotely. And that is really something that is astounding. So we don't know as we go forward, right? Nothing is constant. It's only change is constant. So we need to be always ready for what will happen next. But I think in the last 1.5 years, most of the companies are really geared for the next 5 to 10 years, right? They've really adopted digital transformation and they've really geared themselves up for eventuality. One thing I want to make from a cybersecurity perspective is that the attacks are only going to get sophisticated. If we think that we are implementing AI and machine learning, trust me, the bad actors are 2 steps ahead of us, right? They're using it even more faster than we do. So my recommendation would be that whilst we have human intelligence, which is helping us secure, we also need to start putting in layers of machine intelligence on that. At the end of the day, we need to ensure that the threats that are coming, we should be able to block those threats and keep our businesses going.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. I think we said, right, data is a oil or a money which is coming from, say, like left hand side. We look at privacy or a security is in new green, right? So we need to really keep our ecosystem greener. And as Praveen has said, it's a ever-changing game, right? So even if you adopt AI or ML or minimal algorithms there, or any new technologies for safeguarding. So to manage one technology, there is a knowledge evaluation of another technology or other products, wherein regulators do come and create some kind of a governance structure, guidelines, which a bank needs to adopt, and which service providers to come and support those guidelines and give those practices and products on time. I think it's a really great journey which we have seen as a bankers or as a service provider in last 4 or 5 years. But things will be more challenging here onwards in the next 4 or 5 years. While applications will be multi-cloud, it will not be at a one network. It will be multi-network, and you will have to have a group or a consortium of networks who should come and say this is a guideline for whole network. I think that's how we look at ever-changing the cyber security. I think personally, I have seen a lot of gains from this discussion today. So thank you so much once again, everybody, for joining this panel session, and thank you, Elite's Technomedia, for bringing this cybersecurity session, typically data and cybersecurity practices for a BFSI. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Prasanna sir. It was a pleasure to have you, and it was a wonderful, panel discussions with a quite insightful views. I hope our audience must have enjoyed it a lot. Thank you so much, Mr. Prasanna and other panelists. Thank you so lot for joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.